Okay, abusia Deputy Attorney General ede ensembi ababetuja enensema ode ababetuja no ene ya project ede ato ye screen no enche ede amamono or say CJ's removal. We will file to oppose Torkonoo's application for default judgment at ECOWAS court. Abusia Deputy Attorney General ene desa ensem way ede ebai and rather ye de brem se Torkonoo ashe eye ECOWAS court for ne se ne case no omo enye den endi ehon asem emfama no na ode betu dwa no ena eche se Attorney General so edesa and same way ede ababetudwa oche say they will also file to oppose Torkonoo's application for default judgment at ECOWAS. Ebusia we ne ensema course na empemfo so at nase ede removal of a Chief Justice Torkonoo, former Chief Justice Torkonoo ehun semene bi atudwa mom yenko na yenko nkoti unsubscribe ya subscribe like na share ma afofron so ensa into me enkabi aha Ghana politics avenue so madam say
issue of the dismissal of former Chief Justice Torkonoo. You see, I don't see the hue and cry over this subject matter.
Really?
Of course. You see, the judiciary is made up of human beings. And the Chief Justice is a human being. Whoever the person is, he or she, is a human being. That is why the framers of the Constitution put a clause in there that suggests that if you have a Supreme Court judge, a Chief Justice, who has been appointed to occupy a certain position, they must be able to discharge their duty equitably, fairly, without fear, without favor, without any iota of blemish surrounding their service discharge. Now, who triggered the petition? Was it John Mahama? Was it John Mahama? John Mahama didn't trigger any petition against the removal of the Chief Justice. A citizen of the land who deems it prudent that based on his observation, there is a need for me to petition the president for the removal of the Chief Justice. And now the removal of the Chief Justice is suggested that is based on stated misbehavior. What is your definition of stated misbehavior?
It's not captured in the Constitution.
It's not captured in the Constitution.
So the committee was left to define
what constitutes a stated misbehavior for you may not constitute a stated misbehavior for me.
So an administrative lapse as in payment of
course, because you see
the father to the husband and daughter should constitute payment.
That is why I'm saying that even you see the scale of judiciary is a balanced one. Even your facial expression, your demeanor, your body language as a Chief Justice can constitute a stated misbehavior, or you don't know?
Really? And it should be a ground for removal of the Chief Justice, your body language.
That is why I'm saying to you that the judiciary is supposed to be the neutral arbiter. That when anybody finds any problem anywhere, we run to the judiciary, isn't it? So the judiciary, the standard of the Chief Justice cannot be lowered.
But in this specific case, I mean, at least two issues largely were captured there, having to do with the recommendations that were made to the president for the appointment of some judges. The committee says she shouldn't have done that. Then it has to do also with payment to the husband and the daughter because of some vacation they took, which ordinarily they were not supposed to take. You think this should be enough to remove the Chief Justice of the country?
What I'm saying to you is that if you have a Chief Justice of a republic where we all come to agree that there have been certain discharge of her duties, which does not constitute fairness, and if it doesn't constitute fairness, it is incumbent on anybody at all to trigger any process to remove you. And we must also not make the position of the Chief Justice cast in stone that is an untouchable position, because when you do that, you are going to create chaos in this country. Because you don't know when you have a Chief Justice that is not going to discharge his or her duties equitably.
But so, in this case, I mean, has there been a case that she didn't discharge her duties equitably?
You know, that's why I'm saying that stated misbehavior can also be perception.
But based on the reasons given for removal, are you convinced that it was
based on the reasons given for her removal, For us at Movements for Change, we don't have any problem with the removal of the Chief Justice at all.
Let me bring in a constitutional lawyer.
The reason why we don't have any problem with the removal of the Chief Justice at all is that the due process of removing her has been followed. If the due process hasn't been followed, then we will say that it's a breach of the constitutional stated clauses or stated laid down procedures. But once none of those stated laid down procedures has not been flouted, why should we have a problem?
Great. Let me bring in a constitutional lawyer. And Prof, I'll come to you on this because, I mean, your government is getting a lot of backlash for this. And all those others believe that the process has been followed duly. That's the argument you're making, that, well, you just follow the process. But some say you've committed a grave sin. And the MPP are saying that when they come to power, you've just created a precedent that they might follow. But let me bring in lawyer Richard Kwame Nomanyo. He's a constitutional lawyer. I mean, Mr. Richard, from where you sit, though, as a constitutional lawyer, argument about the process was made. The Chief Justice herself, now removed Chief Justice, made argument about the process. She said it was not fair. Then you've seen the reasons that were used to remove her. Are you convinced that, yes, this is sufficient ground for the removal of a Chief Justice?
Thank you very much. Very good morning to you and your viewers. As a lawyer, I believe that I will stick to the law and the process. Now, our Constitution has provided the process for the removal of the Chief Justice. And the question here is that, did we follow the Constitution? Was the Constitution followed to the latter? If the Constitution was followed to the latter, then there shouldn't be any qualms about her removal. Now, under Article 146, the 1+1, the Constitution says that the grounds upon which the Chief Justice can be removed are 1, stated misbehavior or incompetence, or on ground of inability to perform the functions of his office arising from infirmity of body or mind. Now, if you look at this process, it's mainly hinged on stated misbehavior.
Yes.
Now, one of your panelists just said that the stated misbehavior is not defined. It's defined. When you look at the case of Ejay Chum versus Attorney General, the Supreme Court has defined stated misbehavior as stated misbehavior broadly to include corruption, abuse of office, bias, or other conduct that undermines public confidence in the judiciary. So our court has defined what constitutes stated misbehavior. So if we followed the Constitution, now the Constitution states that when a petition is received, the president should consult the Council of State, and the consultation should establish that it's a prima facie case. Prima facie case simply means that there is a cause to answer, there is a case to answer. Therefore, come and answer. Come and tell us why an action should not be taken against you. Now, when that is established, the committee should be set up, a committee of 5, 2 Supreme Court justices, and then 3 other persons who are not lawyers and who are not members of parliament. Okay? Now, this committee of 5, we have 2 Supreme Court justices on the committee. So the committee is chaired by the Supreme Court justice.
Yeah.
So this her own colleague, two of her own colleagues were on the committee. And now the procedure is also clear that the process should be held in camera. Now, when the process is held in camera, the Constitution has further provided that she should be granted hearing. And the Constitution has made it clear that she can even come in with her lawyers, her experts, and any witness she deemed necessary to exonerate herself. Now, when the committee is done with its work, it is incumbent on the committee to determine whether or not upon all the processes there is basis for her removal. Then that is recommended to the president, and the process is clear that if the president receives the recommendations of the committee, the president is bound by the recommendations of the committee. But then, so if all these have been adhered to, then it is fair.
then
it's fair.
But the bigger argument has to do with the basis of that recommendation and the issues that were highlighted, you know, in that Daniel Ofori petition. I mean, from where you sit, do you think those issues, yes, should constitute statement misbehavior so much that it should be grounds for the removal of none other but the Chief Justice of the land?
Honestly, it's an unfortunate situation for her. Flowing from that angle, I understand how it feels. Did I say understand? It will be a difficult situation after 22 years on the bench. But the fact still remains that you and I were not in the committee meetings. We do not know what transpired in those meetings. We do not know the evidence that was brought to bear in those meetings. It was held in camera. So, the process makes it clear that those camera sittings should not even come out. And the law, there's a decided case that even when there's a leakage as to what happened in the committee sitting, whoever leaked it, when the person is identified, he should be punished. But I should not even nullify the work of the committee. Okay, so like I said earlier, stated misbehavior has been defined by the court.
But let's look at the specific issues. And Doc, I'm going to come to you, Doc, briefly on this because I mean you and your party have been clearly unhappy about the situation. But let me come to the specific, Mr. Richard, because one of the issues that were raised there, based on which she was removed, had to do with some administrative issues relating to whether the husband and the daughter should receive per diem. And according to the report, says that the husband and the daughter received monies per diems after following her on a vacation, and they were not supposed to receive this. And some say this is not, what do you call it? This is an administrative lapse. And ordinarily, we see at the Public Accounts Committee, we see somebody surcharged and is made to return the money. It shouldn't escalate to the point where the Chief Justice should be removed. If somebody has received money they were not supposed to receive, which the Judicial Secretary actually sanctioned, then they should just return it. It's as simple as that. But it became grounds for the removal of the Chief Justice. As some said, this is too minute to take out someone as powerful and, you know, as important in our democracy as the Chief Justice.
You see, for me, we can look at this question in two broad ways, okay? The first one is that, does that conduct undermine public confidence in the judiciary? That is the first question. Does it undermine the public confidence in the judiciary? And you see, the Constitution has made it clear that to be a Chief Justice, let me use this word, let me borrow this word, it's not a joke. The Constitution holds the Chief Justice in high esteem, if I can even add, very, very high esteem. So the Constitution says that it should be a person of high moral character. So it should be something without somebody without blemish. So if in the eyes or in the views of the committee, they feel that this constitutes a misstated behavior, then indeed it will suffice. Okay, if stated misbehavior, then indeed it will suffice. Like I said earlier, we don't know what happened at the committee level. You and I were not there. Probably there are some evidence that if they come out now, the argument will change. But probably because of the Constitution and the way the system is designed, we cannot have access to that. Now, in my own view, I feel that the removal of the Chief Justice is too simple. It's too simple in the sense that when you go to other jurisdictions, like the US, for instance, I was trying to check that this morning, just this morning. Before the Chief Justice or a Supreme Court Justice can be removed, one, there has to be a vote, a simple majority vote at the House of Representatives. After the House of Representatives are voted, it now goes down to the House of Senate. And at the House of Senate, there is a total trial. And when the trial is over, the said person who has committed this grave crime ought to have been convicted by a 2/3 majority. So it's a rigorous process.
So the process here where committee looks into it, the president is bound to it, and boom, she's removed. It's too simplistic, isn't it?
It's too simplistic.
Great. Let me bring Dr. Adomaku Kisi in on this one. Doc, if you're still there, I mean, you follow this. Even when she was suspended, we heard your comments. You were quite strong on it. Now she's been removed.
Well, I must admit that democracy in Ghana has been, as it is, weakened. And I say this largely because I have always been talking not about the person, but the office that the person holds. I believe strongly that if there's supposed to be separation of powers, then there should be limitation in terms of the ability for the executive to, at any point in time, trigger through a known constitutional procedure to as it is, conduct this injustice. And with the greatest of respect, listen, some of the items that were listed, should we turn the same thing to the parliamentary house, then certainly, forgive me, but that means that the current Speaker of Parliament ought to have also left office a decade ago. I say this not because I'm saying that those travel expenses are right. No. What I'm trying to say is that I think the Canadian Prime Minister, for crying out loud, was asked to return state funds when he traveled, on vacation without buying fuel. So I don't take it lightly. However, the process, the hanging of this Chief Justice has been certainly a big blow to the independence of the judiciary. And it so happens that members of the judiciary also partook in this exercise of reducing their own power that they have under the Constitution.
But they were bound to it. Are they not bound based on, the Constitution? I mean, the formation, the people who constitute the committee, that is what the law says. They ordinarily will have to
They are
come
bound
from...
when the things they are talking about have merit. Even in the Ashanti Kingdom, as the Asantehene is destooling some members, he does it based on not just all kinds of excuses, but things that are of merit and agreed upon by many subjects that this is meritorious. Somebody is damaging their lands, their waterways, and the chief is found to be guilty. That is different. So I would always be that one person that will say that per the office that this woman held, the grounds for her removal are incongruous, unacceptable, and I worry because of the precedents we have set. And we've now augmented the executive authority in Ghana. And for that reason, I think I side with the lawyer in the sense that to get the senators and the Congress to agree to the removal is not a small task. And maybe in the future, Ghana's constitutional review will have to look at that.
But Doc, just a follow-up.
In Ghana, as it stands now, by virtue of the fact that the NDC administration has 2/3, and forgive me, these are 2/3 that sings to the president, and for that reason, what the presidency wants, they get. But I pray for that day that Parliament will be very independent, that the judiciary of the nation will be more independent. And let me also put on record that the behavior of this administration has just dented and reminded many Ghanaians of the past era and the relationship between the NDC administration, then the PNDC, and the judiciary.
But Doc, but in terms of the specific issues, the judiciary
is better in the hands of the MPP administration at any point in time.
Doc, in terms of the specific issues that were raised, or based on which she was removed, is it the case that if the spouse and child of the Chief Justice receives money they were not supposed to receive, and she looked on for them to receive it, if such a conduct is, substantiated to have happened, should the Chief Justice be excused because he's Chief Justice? They say she's supposed to be a woman, based on her office, the demands on her office. She's supposed to have the highest moral character. She needs to be on a very high ground, and things like this must not be associated with her. And that's the point the lawyer makes, that things like this might erode public confidence in the judiciary and in the office, for which reason they say no one is above the law, and why she was removed.
So are you telling me today that you can tell me on authority that President John Dramani Mahama will not be flying any presidential jets with his family? I mean, listen, let's be Ghanaian first, okay? And are you telling me that if we should go into the annals of the history of the Chief Justices, that none of them have traveled with their family members? Shall I even say that they are nuclear family? Listen, I'm not calling it as right or wrong. My point is that, is it meritorious to remove a whole Chief Justice for something that I can, on authority, tell you that other people holding such high offices are doing?
Great.
Now, I mean, if we want to use her as a scapegoat, it's unfortunate, because I believe that the benefits of the office that she holds may not have been fully disclosed to her, and she may have been following a practice in that office. I stand to be corrected. My key point here is that a travesty has happened, the removal of a Chief Justice by a certain president, on cases that at one point in time were not seen as meritorious to begin with. You understand? And let me be very frank with you that I worry not because it's NDC in power. I worry because we have now set the tone for another president to come and decide that he wants to change the Speaker of Parliament and change his Chief Justice. And this trend is breaking the institutions in this country.
Well, Prof has
damaging.
I mean, Prof has an intervention to make, very quick one. Prof has an intervention to make. Prof,
our democracy.
Prof, you've been nodding to his comments in disagreement. I mean, what's your reaction?
Yeah, Dixon and I are friends, but today I don't know what happened to him.
Okay, abusu awene ensema ekoso ewo political highway so suspended and as a former Chief Justice Torkonoo ne honsem ena yeguso ede ebremo ebedama se samoje penekokoti sa ensem we edemaye aha Ghana politics avenue so medama se